Hello everyone, welcome to Sam's Summaries. This episode is a deep dive discussion into Sam Fury's summary of the book 7 Powers by Hamilton Helmer. It has been created with the help of AI. You can read the original summary at samfury.com.
Ever notice how some companies just, seem to dominate their industries?
Like they're just unstoppable, right?
Yeah, exactly. It got me thinking, it's not just about making money, There's something deeper going on.
Oh, absolutely. It's like what gives these companies that staying power, that almost unfair advantage.
Totally. So I've been digging into this book, 7 Powers by Hamilton Helmer, and let me tell you, it's been eye-opening.
Oh, yeah. 7 Powers. It's a classic.
It really is. It's basically a framework for understanding what truly makes businesses powerful. Not just successful, but truly dominant in the long run.
And the cool thing is, it's not just for CEOs and investors.
Right.
Anyone can benefit from understanding these powers, whether you're starting a business or just trying to make smarter decisions in your career.
Absolutely. So, ready to dive into these 7 powers?
Let's do it.
All right. So, Helmer kicks things off with scale economies.
Okay. Scale economies.
And, it's kind of what it sounds like. Basically, the bigger a company gets, the cheaper it can make its stuff.
Right. It's all about efficiency, right? Spreading those costs over a larger volume of production.
Exactly. It's like when you buy that giant pack of toilet paper at the store. You're getting a lower price per roll compared to buying those little packs.
Exactly. Bulk buying. And that cost advantage, it creates a massive barrier for competitors trying to get in the game.
Right, because they can't match those prices.
Especially early on. It's tough to compete when a larger company already has those economies of scale.
So it's a built-in advantage.
It is. Now, scale doesn't guarantee success, but it's a powerful force, that's for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there's network economies, which is a whole different kind of beast.
Yeah, network economies are fascinating. The more people use something, the more valuable it becomes.
Right, like the classic example, Facebook. Its power is in its billions of users.
Exactly. Or think about telephones, right? If only a few people had them, they wouldn't be very useful.
Oh, that's a good point.
But as more people join the network, the value for everyone increases exponentially.
So it's a snowball effect.
Exactly. And it often leads to these winner-take-most scenarios. It's hard to dethrone the leader once that network effect kicks in.
Wow. So where do we see this in our own lives?
Oh, it's everywhere. Think about the apps on your phone. The ones you use the most, the ones you find most valuable, are probably the ones with the strongest network effects.
Yeah, makes you think. All right, let's move on to the next power, which is a bit more complex, but super interesting. It's counterpositioning.
Counterpositioning.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, but powerful when done right.
Yeah, and Helmer uses this great example, Netflix versus Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, classic case study.
Right. Blockbuster was the king of video rentals, but then Netflix comes along with this completely different model, streaming.
And Blockbuster couldn't easily copy it without cannibalizing their own business.
Exactly. They were stuck.
It's all about innovating in a way that disrupts the existing players, but in a way they can't easily counter.
So what are some industries that are ripe for counterpositioning right now?
That's a good question. I think any industry where the big players are slow to adapt to changing consumer needs, that's where you'll see counterpositioning emerge.
Makes sense. Okay, now this next one I think we can all relate to. Switching costs.
Oh yeah, we've all felt the pain of switching costs at some point.
Right. Like, ever felt trapped by a phone contract?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're super loyal to a particular software ecosystem?
Or even just your favorite coffee shop, right? You just can't imagine going anywhere else.
Totally. And that's the power of switching costs. Once you're in, it's hard to leave.
And companies know this. They often create these switching costs very intentionally. Think about loyalty programs, all those points you accumulate, or how difficult it is to transfer your data from one platform to another.
It's like they're building these little golden handcuffs.
Exactly. It makes good business sense, but yeah, it can feel a little manipulative sometimes.
It does. It makes you think critically about where your loyalties lie and why. All right, speaking of loyalty, we got to talk about branding.
Ah, yes, branding. One of the most powerful forces in business.
Right. It's the power of a name and an image to build trust and often justify higher prices.
Absolutely. Think about luxury brands versus generic products. Often they perform the same function, but the perception is completely different.
Totally. You're paying for the brand, the story, the image.
Exactly. And building a strong brand takes time and effort. It's about consistency, quality, and creating a compelling narrative that resonates with your audience.
It's like you're telling a story.
Exactly. And that story needs to connect with people on an emotional level. Think about a brand you're personally loyal to. What is it about their story that resonates with you?
Ooh, that's a good question. All right, next up, we've got cornered resource.
Cornered resource. This one's all about talent. Having a team so uniquely skilled that it's virtually impossible to replicate. And it's not just about individual brilliance, it's about how those individuals work together, the synergy they create.
So how do we apply this concept to our own careers?
Well, it's about constantly developing your skills, becoming that cornered resource that companies will fight over. What makes you uniquely valuable, especially in a team setting?
It's about building your own personal brand, right?
Exactly.
All right, last but not least, we have process power.
Process power. This one's all about internal efficiency. Doing things so well, so consistently, that it becomes a major competitive advantage.
And the classic example is Toyota, right?
Exactly. Their manufacturing process is legendary for its efficiency and quality. It's something that's incredibly difficult to imitate.
So it's about those unseen advantages.
Exactly. It's not just about what you do, but how you do it. Think about the processes in your own life or work that give you an edge, that make you more effective.
Interesting. And this actually leads us nicely into the second part of the book, where Helmer dives into how these powers are gained and used over time.
Right. Because it's one thing to understand these powers, but it's another to actually build them.
Exactly. And he talks about the path to power, which is all about invention, creating new products, new processes, or even entirely new business models.
It's about being innovative, thinking outside the box, and finding new solutions to old problems.
So it's not just about having a great idea, it's about bringing that idea to life in a way that creates value.
Absolutely. And that often involves taking risks, experimenting, and being willing to fail along the way.
And then there's the power progression, which I found really insightful. It's basically the idea that certain powers need to be established early on in a company's life.
Right. Think about scale and network effects. Those are tough to build once you're already a massive company.
It's like trying to change the foundation of a house after it's already built.
Exactly. You got to get those foundational powers in place early on.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
So even if you're not running a Fortune 500 company, understanding these 7 powers gives you a whole new way of looking at the world.
Absolutely. It's like having a secret decoder ring for understanding business and really just understanding how the world works.
Yeah. It makes you think about the forces at play in every decision you make, every industry you interact with.
And the book goes into way more detail, of course. Tons of real-world examples and case studies. I highly recommend giving it a read.
Definitely. But even just this high-level overview, it's incredibly valuable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the key takeaway for me is that these powers are not static. They're constantly evolving, so understanding them is an ongoing journey.
That's a great point. It's like a lifelong pursuit, always learning, always adapting.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking for those hidden advantages.
Great advice. Well, on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.
See ya!
Thanks for tuning in to Sam's Summaries. If you found this episode useful, let us know with a like, follow, and share. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to visit samfury.com to get free access to all of Sam's original summaries. You can also get any of Sam's books and other exclusive content. It's all completely free at samfury.com.